Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. I'm Berney Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward children. I believe that our country's best days are still in front of us, but if those best days are still to come, we need to change the direction of the country right now before it's too late. I intend to talk about important topics every week in hopes of improving our country and our way of life. This week, our guest is activist Kareem Monib. Let's get started. Activist Kareem Monib is an American Muslim engineer and a devoted father. In April, he co-founded the Coalition of Virtue, a parents group that organized the Rally for Parental Rights along with other organizations, including the Religious Freedom Institute. Kareem is a father and a husband. He has 4 sons. His vision at Coalition of Virtue is to bring together Americans of all faiths and persuasions to promote virtue in politics and society. He believes that we should restore a moral consensus based on the common good. Kareem, welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. We're glad to have you.
Hi, Bernie. Glad to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Outstanding, sir. Tell us about yourself. What is your background?
Well, my parents immigrated in 1973 from Egypt. They came here to get their doctorate degrees in engineering in Oklahoma. So I was born in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Then my parents went from there to Wyoming to get they got their PhDs in Oklahoma. Then they got their master's degrees in Oklahoma and their PhDs in Wyoming. And then from there, we moved to North Carolina. And then I basically grew up in Delaware. So I grew up in the East Coast. I mean, the vast majority of my childhood up to 18 years old was spent in Delaware. Actually, early on under the Biden era.
Wow. Look at us now. Yeah. Joe Biden. Let me tell you, I have another question for you. Parental rights are under attack in this state specifically, and in the nation. How should we combat this problem?
It's a huge problem. It's multifaceted. So when you say combat it, you're really looking at a kind of vast movement that has for actually decades been working to indoctrinate children and to erode the bond between parents and children. I mean, it used to be taken granted that parents have the right to guide their children's education, but through various mechanisms, they've basically been able to say that the state knows better than the parents with respect to education, with respect to health, with respect to mental health. So now we're at this point where parents have to argue that they have rights over their children. So it's kind of a ridiculous state to be in to begin with, but that's where we are. But to fight it, we're ultimately going to have to pass a Bill of Rights, a parental or children's Bill of Rights. And I think even internationally, the international bodies need to pass laws to protect children in today's world.
Outstanding. My next question. Let's talk about the protest that you arranged in Montgomery County on the 6th of June. I thought that was pretty impressive.
It was amazing. I know we were out there. I saw you, and the energy was amazing. I mean, it was just energizing. I mean, there was just so many different kinds of people there. I mean, to see everybody come out, just because we all are concerned about the same thing, and we all come out there and we're fighting together. It encourages people to take even more, more action and get involved even more. So it was amazing.
Outstanding. It was so very popular that activist Andy No took notice of it on Twitter, and even Elon Musk commented on Asra Namani's tweet. The event eventually got 7.5 million views on Twitter. You put a lot of eyes on our problem here in Maryland. I really, really thank you. Can you talk more about the Twitter presence?
Sure. Yeah, it was we weren't sure how much coverage we were going to get. Um, we sent out a media advisory, and the response was kind of lukewarm, so we were not really sure. But luckily, we had some independent journalists, and that shows you the kind of new landscape now of independent journalism. So Asra Nomani was there, and she filmed what was happening, and talked to some people, and she posted something, and it got picked up by Elon, who was personally very concerned about the transgender ideology, and so he retweeted that. And I think he did that because everybody's looking to see who's gonna really stand up. People, I think people want to get involved. They
Yes.
just, I mean, you barely need to nudge them, and they're in it because people have good hearts ultimately, and they know what's happening is wrong. We just have this human nature where when everybody's afraid, they can be afraid for no reason, and nobody will ask the other person, well, hey, why are you afraid? And and actually turns out that there's no reason to be afraid to begin with. So I think that's kind of what's happening here.
I was there with you on the 6th of June. I was very proud. I was very impressed, especially with the composition of the crowd. You had Muslims and Christians and Jews and others all supporting your cause. How did you convince the interfaith community to show up like that?
Well, it again, I mean, it's it was not that difficult. That's kind of what the vision of the Coalition of Virtue is. It's to say we don't need to do identity politics anymore. We can do value-based politics. And if you look at value-based politics on, especially in a local and state level, there's no reason why people of faith who share 99% of their understanding of family and sexuality and all these things, it's the same. So why are we not working together? And it's actually, when you talk to people about it, they say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We should. And then it just starts happening.
The next question, opt out. What does that mean to you?
So opt out is the issue at Montgomery County Public Schools is they had an opt out policy for instructional material, stories, whatever, that involved LGBT characters. They used to inform the parents before teaching that, and they used to offer the opt out. Now, I'm not talking about sexual education class that is specifically that classes. You are allowed by law to opt out of that class. We're not talking about that. These are instructional materials that are going to be used in potentially any class. Actually, they are being used in any class. um, English, literature, social science, what have you. And these books are really bad. I mean, they're, to give you an example, a book called Pride Puppy, where it's about a gay pride parade, and you're supposed to circle things like underwear. I mean, this is for fourth graders. Yeah, it's incredible. Um, but going back to your question, it was very easy to get people together, to be honest with you.
Outstanding. I saw your interview on Fox News with Laura Ingraham. I was impressed, needless to say. How did it feel to be interviewed on a national television show like that?
I've never done that before. And I was nervous, of course, but I just felt, I mean, things happened so quickly. We were able to get all those people out there, and it just got picked up by the media. I mean, the next thing I know, I was being whisked away to go to Fox News, sitting in the green room and getting wired up and going out there. And it just happened so quickly. I actually didn't have time to be too nervous. And I was just focused on wanting to get my message out there, that that, hey, let's work together. I mean, it's such a simple message, but I do see it spreading. I mean, I'm aware of other areas in the country we're in touch with that are planning rallies now.
Yes.
Even in Canada, actually, you know, I mean, it's almost international now. So yeah, it's been amazing, and it was a nice experience after, you know, and Laura is a very nice person. I mean, just as a human being, I was, you know, she put me at ease. Just you know, she really did put me at ease. So I appreciated that.
I spread that video around to everybody I knew. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Another question. Maryland's K through 12 education scores are going down, while the establishment seems to be more interested in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's terrible, and it's everywhere. Not only in Maryland, but yeah, it's bad here too. The level of education is going down. It's going down rapidly. It's all data is pointing in the same direction. Children are not able to read and comprehend at grade level as much anymore. So it's very worrisome that that's happening. And you're right. All the schools are a lot of money is being spent on things other than academics, rigorous academics. There's a lot of just games, and you know, things that are not focused on making students able to perform at a high level. So that's very troubling. And it, you know, all these things are connected. All these things we're talking about, you know, this not having religious freedoms anymore, seeing academics go down. There's a kind of wider, there was a, while everybody was taking a nap, or at least while I was taking a nap over the past 2 decades, there was a kind of re-education of society happening, and it was happening in colleges and universities. You know, they call it wokeism, but really it's applied postmodernism. And they basically created a whole class of activists that are pushing this stuff. And that's really what we're facing. So it's a multifactorial movement that we need to resist. And that's why I always say that if we're going to win, it's only going to be if we all work together. I mean, we need to be in lockstep. We need to make strategic decisions together. Every faith community, every morally conservative person in this country. And that's the only way to win, because that's what they've been doing. They create these allyships of ragtag of people that have nothing in common. People that have nothing in common. They group them together and they somehow get them to vote with the radical left. And we're not able to get together with other people that it should be easier for us as conservatives, because we actually agree. I mean, we actually share 90%. So it shouldn't be difficult to create large coalitions.
Well, you certainly demonstrated it. Got another question for you. How do you see the faith community and the conservative political community working together for good in the future?
Well, I think that the veil has been lifted. People who thought that Muslims and Christians and Jews are not going to get together because of, you know, historical animosities and this and that. I think they underestimated the goodness that is inside of religions. I think they underestimated the kind of virtues that religion inculcates in human beings. And actually, it's, you know, like I was saying, once we just realize that, oh, we can work together, then it's going to happen. I think so far it's been sharing a lot of, you know, information. We talk about, you know, we plan the rallies. We strategize about how to plan those rallies. We exchange our flyers. We talk about, you know, we're working with the Hispanic community. We're translating it to Spanish, and their community is giving us ideas. So it's just amazing. I mean, everybody is, and there's all these different, you know, WhatsApp groups in every community is, and now there's people that were on, like we have Christians now in our groups, you know, offering advice and ideas. It's just an amazing thing that's happening right now.
You have done a great job. So with that said, what is your next event?
Well, we're having another rally on June 27th, and the Coalition of Virtue is helping to plan that. But there's even more organizations this time around, and more communities this time around, that are going to be present in large numbers. The Ethiopian community, which consists of large numbers of Orthodox Protestants, Catholics, and Muslims. They are very concerned about this issue. They came out at the last rally, but they really didn't have time to organize the way they wanted to. But now I think they are going to come out in very large numbers, because it's a big issue to them.
And I'll be there too.
Great.
Last question, brother. What would you like to say to the audience? The floor is yours.
Well, I'd like to say that every person in this country that has a concern about the condition of the country, or has a concern, or knows that there's something off, there's something wrong, there's some kind of malaise, things are not going the way they should be. Anyone who has that kind of sense, and also has a sense of virtue, right, believes that God created us, and believes that God wants us to live in a virtuous manner, and that there is such a thing as morality, I would say to them, let's start working together like we have never done before. Remove all barriers. Do not let the left divide us, because that will be the first thing they will try to do. They will try to come in there and say, no, you shouldn't be working together, because they know that we would be an extremely powerful political force, and it would really end their movement. So that's my message. Let's work together. Let's not allow anyone to divide us or get between us. And let's build personal relationships and organizational relationships as much as we can before 2024. And lastly, I do want to say, I'll put this idea out there for my conservative brothers and sisters in Maryland and in the whole country. Why don't we have a million faithful march, or a million parent march on DC? I think that we need to be really visible. I think we need to be visible. I think the country needs to see how many of us there are. We are a multitude of people. We are numerous, and we may even be the majority of this country.
I believe we are.
Still, yeah. I'm talking about just the morally conservative. Yeah, I think we definitely are. Yeah, I think we definitely are. I mean, I would say 70% of the country really shares a normative understanding of these issues. So that's an idea that I wanted to throw out. If I could talk to Elon or someone like that who had a big far reach, I would tell them, please, let's organize on DC.
Let me ask you, and I know I said my last question, but if somebody wanted to get a hold of your organization, how would they do so?
Oh, they can go to coalitionofvirtue.org. It's still a basic website. We're still going to be, updating that. Or they can write to info@coalitionofvirtue.org. And actually, I did want to mention a little bit about the organization. It's, we would like it to be kind of have two aspects. There'll be a think tank, and then there'll be an action network. And the think tank idea is to put out policies and things to help Muslims, but also Christians and Jews, understand how to work together with conservatives, on issues that we all agree on. So that would be the think tank side. And of course, the action side will be doing, the rallies and other sort of action related items. So.
Well, with that said, brother, I thank you. Activist Kareem Monib, my friend, I'm proud to have you on the show. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
We'll see you next time, and we'll see you at your next protest.
Looking forward to it. Take care, Berney.
See you later.
Great seeing you.
Bye-bye. Bye. Well, that's about it for now. This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Liberty Arise Media and other podcasters. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast and to this channel. Be sure to get your copy of my new book, Black Values Matter, available on Amazon or as an ebook on Audible and on Apple Books. And remember, it's okay to disagree, but if we want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility from ourselves and our fellow citizens. Thanks for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. See you next week.